here we are. This is S.x Love Psychedelics, and I'm your host, Dr. Kat, bringing you psychosexual conversations that will leave you intellectually turned on and hungry for more.
At what point do we speak about, these orgasmic births and these, menstruation that doesn't have to be painful? And yet there's a number of women who have those experiences of the pain and how that can end up creating shame. I'm thinking of one friend of mine who tried breastfeeding and the baby couldn't latch. And then there was all the pain associated with the breasts and pain associated with breastfeeding. And she ended up not being able to, and how that created these shame loops of I couldn't do that. My body failed. And so it's such an interesting balance of both supporting women and helping them to understand what pain means and what's possible while also honoring what their experience is.
Yeah, I definitely danced with that tension in the book. A lot of women are upset that I would even advocate something like orgasmic birth because they feel like it sets up this expectation where it's
Mhm.
hard enough already for most people just to get through the childbirth process at all. Then they're like, damn, now I have to make it orgasmic. Like it is like it can be this pressure that people feel. I think it's about people knowing what their options are and creating a world where those options are available to more people, and also acknowledging that's not the world we live in. Most people give birth in hospitals, largely for financial or safety reasons. A lot of people have underlying health conditions, or they're stressed out during childbirth, or their doctors are not informed about how to minimize pain or even know the concept that it could be pleasurable. And so in the world we live in, we are working toward a point where these options can be more available, and we aren't there yet. And a lot of that is not any individual's fault. A lot of that is beyond our control. And same thing, I interviewed a woman who had endometriosis and got part of her uterus removed. And a lot of natural healthcare advocates say this is, bypassing something important. The cervix is involved in pleasure, there are natural ways to heal and whatnot, but we don't know that for any individual. We don't know each individual's case. We don't know how they're going to respond to any given treatment. So it is really about having options and letting people know that there is a path available that is less traditional Western medicine and more about holistic healing, or more about focusing on pleasure over pain. But we can't make that call for anybody else. One of my interview subjects said it best. If you I advocate birthing however you feel safe. So if where you feel safe is in a hospital with medication, that's what's most important, is how you feel when you're doing it. And I hope that resolves the tension somehow, between, because it is controversial to talk about life can be so much better for women, but then it's how, when I'm, you know, still trapped in a situation where
Mhm.
I just don't have access to all the resources, or there's a physical issue with my body that prevents me from this. It's I think everyone's birth story especially has its own magic to it. And I had one client, actually, I'm a birth doula, and I had one client who wanted to have a spiritual orgasmic birth, and she ended up needing a C-section. And she said they put her under and she talked to her ancestors the whole time, and it was like a psychedelic trip. And I was like,
Wow.
well, you kind of got one form of that. There are no limits. It's really about mindset.
Yeah, I think that's really important to understand. Yeah, to break the or to understand what mindsets or beliefs are inherited, and what we can choose, or what we can step into, or what we can even strive for. But like you said, even to recognize the systems that might be in place that might even make it hard for somebody to feel safe at the hospital, or with a midwife, or whatever that might be for them, because there are, whether it's systemic racism or the fear of medical systems inhibiting somebody's access to fair and safe and attentive care that might be historical and passed down through their own family lineage.
Yeah, and racism is still a big issue at hospitals, specifically in maternity care. Black women have triple the chances of dying in childbirth, or maternal mortality and morbidity is triple for Black women. And so we have to also take that into account, that there's a certain privilege involved in being able to have a pleasurable birth.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people just want to survive their birth and come out healthy.
Well, that was fun. Thanks for tuning in, lovers. And if you want to experience more ecstasy and sexual liberation, head over to sexlovepsychedelics.com and learn about how you can join me for any one of my online or live events. And while you're there, grab my free guide on sex and psychedelics. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please contact your healthcare provider and local law before pursuing any of the products or psychedelics discussed. And one final note here. I make this show specifically for you. If you're loving the show, then be sure to leave me a review in iTunes or Spotify to let me know. Happy to be here and happy to serve. I'll see you next time on Sex, Love, Psychedelics.